Welcome to week 4. So, week 4 is sports and media. We see no shortage of that because media is one of the main vehicles through which we receive our sports. But before we start on that, last week we left sports and politics, which is always interesting because it's one of the areas of sport that is so up to date and fast changing. All it takes is a new law to be passed to significantly alter or affect or govern some aspect of sports. We're seeing, a lot of times we see what are known as emerging issues in sports catch the attention of lawmakers. A recent example was the California State Legislature passing a pay-to-play bill for college athletes in the state of California to be able to receive, be paid for endorsements. I included that example in your weekly content last week in week 3. Another emerging issue that I saw politicians get involved in just this past week also occurred at the state level, and that occurred in Kansas, where it hasn't been proposed yet, but some lawmakers are talking about a bill requiring transgender athletes to compete on teams based on their biological gender at birth. So Kansas isn't the first state to propose this. It's on a growing list of states that are starting to propose and pass laws related to that. And certainly, sports are just now trying to figure out transgender issues. That's why we call it an emerging issue. So it's still kind of forthcoming, and between sports and lawmakers, they're trying to figure it out and establish kind of what that means for both sport and society. So just an example of the way you can't separate sports and politics. I included an example of a reading in which somebody said that politics have no place in sports, but as you can see, politics and sports are often intertwined, and in many cases we have politics that dictate what can and can't happen in sports. These are two examples of ways in which politics actually legislate an issue in sports. So anyway, I always think that's interesting because it's very, very up to date. So that was sports and politics from last week. Last week I sent you a message after I graded your reading notes in week 2 about the definitions of play and the idea of whether or not Little League is play according to those definitions. So I'm not going to go over that again. This week I'll be looking at the quiz that you just took, so thanks for that. This week we also have the first trend analysis presentation. So I'm looking forward to that. I think that media is another area that changes fast, and I don't know that much about it either. That's an area I don't really know much about is media. So I look forward to seeing what Brian, in his professional opinion, views as an emerging trend in media that is maybe changing how we view sports or consume sports. Or how sports are played, perhaps. We see the effects of media in both ways, and we're seeing that right now with the issue of cheating in Major League Baseball. It's a way that the Astros used their media. So it's not just the way media doesn't just have to do with the way we consume sports. It also has to do with the way that teams compete in sports too. So interesting topic this week. So I'm excited to see what you have for the emerging trend issue. So that's it for me. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you soon.